Hello everybody and welcome back to the chateau, and it is, as you can tell, absolutely glorious weather. I think we're having a little mini heat wave. The skies are crystal clear and blue. It really is very, very, very pleasant. It feels like the summer has arrived. And of course, well, I've got the Le Mans 24-hour race coming up, and I always go to it every year. So I've got lots to get on with, especially with the good weather, because having a little breakaway will also put me behind a little bit. There's the big summer party, there's all sorts of stuff going on. Need to get at it and need to treat this house, like I said before, in fresh start, like I've just moved in. So I need to get stuff clear so I can see what I'm dealing with and what I want to do now. So let's get on with that. First up, however, I need to go and get a floor in my trailer, because everything's got to go in that to be able to clear up, and without that tool, well, it's just a hiding to nothing. Right, so there is the trailer with the floor in, and now getting full of all the weeds, but we can see the door again. And everyone always asks me why I let it get like that. Well, it's the spring, it's the bees. I let stuff that's with the pollen, the dandelions and everything, I let them grow this time of year. So the bees have something to go and get. I can't keep the grass long. Mowers deal with that now and doing a good job. And I need that done because otherwise they can't handle it, and I need to be able to not do that job. So I have to let the bees have pollen from other sources. But honestly, all of that time, a very expensive big sheet of metal, and what it took me to kick myself back into touch was a cheap plasma cutter from Lidl's, as it goes, and the grinder. And now this will still need some more work at a later stage, but it can be used. And I have friends visiting, which is why this is quite important. And as it is in the comments on a regular basis, how is the garden looking with the robots? Oh, look at the back garden. It's off somewhere over in that corner at the moment doing stuff. But it's not looking bad at all, is it? It's looking damn good, really. And I think I'm going to make sure it gets over the bridge now. So it can handle that section once I've got that low enough, which is kind of inspiring me a bit, which is nice. So thank you, everybody. Thank you for your kind comments and everything. I've got friends staying with me for a little bit. I mean, they do it every year for the Le Mans 24 hour. But it's nice to have a bit of company, and it's nice to see everything through some fresh eyes, really. I've literally just been up and shown my friends another project which I've been talking about for a little while, and I wanted to see it in some nice bright sunshine. And we're all sort of talking and looking at it and going, yeah, no, I understand what you're talking about. Yeah, it's great. It could be a good idea. Fresh start and all that. And we literally came back here, sat on the terrace, and then just went, yeah, I'm not sure anymore. This is too pretty. So, having the trailer done, looking at everything with these fresh eyes and trying to look at it as if I've just moved in, that's fresh start. Who knows what will happen? But I also, on top of that, I'm saving so many hours a day, a week, however long, keeping this grass cut, and it's looking better than it really ever has, I think, here, and it's saved me so much time. If I'm utilising that time to do other things now, which will keep it nicer, and as I have been for a long time, trying to get this easy to maintain, so getting rid of some of the complexity and the broken stuff, which allows it to be kept neater and tidier, because it's slightly more formal, which is also less nature and less stuff to wrangle. I've had a huge positive, which could really change everything. And it is what is the most beautiful thing here, and also the most work, the most difficult, and that's the moat. So I always get this question, but I've also had some fantastic news of sorts. We all know that I'm not allowed, without huge permissions, to drain the entire moat. Ignore the fact that you've got to try and net the fish, put them somewhere and everything. The water from here and the amount of sediment that would be in it when you drain it flows down the river, and actually not that much further downstream is a water treatment plant, and this much sediment going into it would cause some huge amounts of problems, which is why the permissions have to come in and so difficult. But I have had an agreement that I would be able to partially drain it, because it's not fully draining it, and sandbag to get to certain areas. And what that would mean I could do, it's too late this year. Simply because got the party this year, people are organised for that. If I were to be doing the particular job I'm about to explain, we wouldn't be having a party here this time next year, because the place would get trashed. But it would be well worth it. And that is because I would get permission to drain down the moat section by section. It wouldn't really help anything with the deep part over there where the cute little duck family are currently swimming around, which is getting shallower and shallower, which is why last year the pondweed wouldn't really grow over there, because the water was too cold, because it was deep. It's nowhere near as deep now, so it is growing. But the section around the house, but more importantly, they said they would allow us to start with this inflow where it comes in from the back. We could, and I did explain this is really a silt trap. There's a small wall under there. So we could sandbag this wall. They would allow us to drain the last of the water out of this section because it's not a huge amount of water extra going out the outflow downstream. And I would then be able to, because it's not deep in the slightest, basically get a small digger into this section and dig it out. You could do it then, you could scrape it back and you could put it all over on that land over there, which is always waterlogged in the winter anyway. Or the summer at the party when everyone was trying to camp on it last year. But that would enable us to get this section done, and more importantly, find all of the stone. You could leave this section drained with that sand for a very, very, very long time, which would allow this to be done properly. Without huge, heavy, expensive equipment in. You do it with smaller stuff at my own pace, although I want it done quickly. And then you'd be able to find all the stone, and because this would be empty and done, you could rebuild the walls along here, which would stop all of these banks being terrible, more erosion. You'd have to get rid of some trees, etc. here, but you would be able to get this looking very formal again and remove the huge amount of silt in this section. And I've got somewhere to put it by putting it over there on that land, and then I could just level that lot out with it. If they've then said that if this works properly, I'd be able to do more. So that's a massive, massive, massive positive, because they've essentially said that I get permission to basically empty my silt trap. So it wasn't that difficult to get that permission when I explained how I wanted to do it, and it would be really, I wouldn't be trying to flush the silt down there with the water. I would be simply taking the water off the top of that section and then letting the silt dry out a little bit and then scooping it all out. I think that was their worry. If I manage that, and they would keep a very strong eye on it, if we could do that in that way, they would then let me do the same around the house, which is also very, very shallow, which would then, go a huge, huge way. Not obviously getting rid of all the silt. The main deep part of the lake is not that deep anymore. That will require either draining properly or a huge machine to go over trees, banks from the driveway. That's a possibility. But being able to do the silt trap, because it's a small amount of water out, and then scooping it out that way, and then, if that's okay, around the house, yes, it gets those sections done, but more importantly, it allows us to drain the sections and keep them drained without affecting the fish and all the ecosystem in the water. But it allows us to get rid of all the silt, but also to get to the walls that all need to be rebuilt and saved and made formal and better. Not to mention the base of the house, which would be quite important. So there is there's this new lease of life, if that makes sense, along with, like I said, a fresh start, but there's also a fresh idea with the authorities actually trying to help, which is the first time in 10 years that people have not just gone, no, you can't do it, because they finally kind of understood. I think some of them have watched the videos and then understood a little bit more about the plan and why. So despite not having the world's best couple of weeks, it's actually now there's some things that are looking very, very positive here. If that is the way I go, which is another reason why I can't do it this year, because there's too much else to do first and too many decisions to be made regarding being here, staying, going, etc. And like I said, looking at it with fresh eyes, and maybe I won't want to be here. Who knows? So I've got a lot else to do first, but it is great news. So once again, thank you everybody for your really, really kind comments. I've got so much to do, especially now it's the summer. I've got to build the stage that I've got to go build, modify at the workshop, ready for not only my party, but a party elsewhere, which is massive. And I'm feeling great. So thanks so much. See you next time. Bye for now.